This is from an 11th grader.
This is an interesting.
Anxiety is consuming me, and I'm so scared. 11th grade.
Okay. Well, I think my first thing is that you're not alone. I think a lot of people feel it. I also have anxiety. And it's very scary. It is very scary, and it can feel very consuming. My anxiety, I'll give you a little peek into my window is what I get like. But when I was younger, I used to be very scared of throwing up. And so my anxiety morphed into this thing now, even nowadays, that whenever I'm anxious, I just feel as though I'm going to throw up. I never do, but I always feel like I'm going to throw up. And it was very overbearing. It was very scary, and I felt very alone for a lot of it, and I felt very misunderstood. And my advice to you is that if it is feeling like you cannot live your life anymore, you should seek a therapist, or you should tell somebody. Maybe not a therapist, tell a parent, tell a friend, just tell anybody. That is huge. That's the first step. Because then you're not letting it run your life. You're showing that you're in control. You can tell people what's going on.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So when you say you can't live your life, do you mean the anxiety is getting to a point where you're like opting out of doing things?
Yes.
You're managing your anxiety
Mm-hmm.
because you're so worried about your anxiety
that you're like not living your life. Like your friends are all hanging out and they're going out to dinner and you're too anxious. So you're just like, I don't want to be anxious. Like, I don't want to go.
And that was you.
That was me. So that's when you should start telling somebody. I have two things I want to add on to that. I said something about therapy. Therapy's great. I love therapy. I have a great therapist. And second is medication is also great. When I took medication as a kid, I was like, I'm different from everybody. Like, I have to take medication because I have a problem. There's something wrong with me. But there's nothing wrong with you if you take medication. I mean, literally everybody takes medication. Like, I take it all the time. Advil's like medication. Like, there's nothing wrong with you if you're taking medication for anxiety. And honestly, if you're taking medication, like, you're going to be able to live your life better. You're going to be able to go out to that dinner with your friends. You're going to be able to go on that walk or that run. You're going to have a good time.
So do what you need to do to get the anxiety under control.
Yeah. And I recommend, if you don't know where to start, just tell somebody. Tell somebody. And tell them everything. Like, don't leave some stuff out. Don't be like, hey, I'm kind of anxious every now and then. Like, be like, I am anxious and it is terrifying every day.
Great. And here's the other thing. The tools and strategies that are out there actually work.
Yeah, they do work.
And anxiety is a scary thing, but it's temporary. If you follow the tools and strategies that work.
It is 100% temporary. Yeah.
Yeah. And you will feel better.
The best feeling, I can assure you, is when you look back and you're like, I was at a bottomless pit and now I'm outside and I'm looking back at it and I'm like, wow, like I felt that way. That's crazy.
Yeah. You can't even believe that you felt that bad.
Mm-mm.
That was me a year. Do you remember Mother's Day a year ago?
I remember a lot of things a year ago. I remember a lot.
When I was sobbing about the fact that we had sold our house and I was begging Dad to try to get it back because I didn't want to move here.
Yeah, I remember that.
And you three kids were here.
I remember I like told my friends, I was like, guys, we're going to move back to like Massachusetts. Like my mom's like pretty sure this time. Like, you should see her.
She is freaking. I was in a full-blown anxiety attack. What was it like for you as a kid to see me lose it? Like really have a mental health breakdown?
I think it was helpful and scary.
How is it helpful?
Because it's nice to know that your parents, it's nice to know that your parents can break down. And that like, if you as a kid see your parent as this strong, like tall, super emotionally put together person, that's how you're going to see them forever. And when you grow up and you see your parent break down for the first time, you're going to be like, oh my goodness, like what? And so when I was a kid and I was young and I saw you break down and I saw you break down again in the future, I was like, oh, like this is just what happens. Like people break down. Like it's totally fine. Maybe not totally fine, but like
it's fine.
I was used to it. Yeah.
You can't be happy all the time.
Nobody's happy all the time.
No. and life is going to be ups and downs. And I think you're right. It is helpful to watch the adults in your life process things and realize that there are periods in your life where you're going to feel like you're in a bottomless pit.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden the clouds pass and things are sunny again.
Yeah.
And that's just part of life.
Yeah. And you don't need to share like the nitty gritty with your kids. You don't need to tell them everything that's like making you upset or why, but let them in. Like, they are a part of your family. They're there to support you. It's good to tell them how you're feeling and how you can be supported.
Yeah. This listener wants to know what your curfew is because she has an 18-year-old high school senior who wants to negotiate a curfew later than midnight.
Yeah, your guys' thing is, if it's, I'm pretty sure it's like later than like 12:31, just stay the night, right?
Yeah.
I feel like that's not what you do. Because like, it's not that your parents, I mean, for you guys, what you tell me, it's not that you don't trust me on the road. It's you don't trust the other people.
Correct.
Because at 2 a.m., you don't know who's driving. You
Correct.
don't know how they're feeling, if they're intoxicated or not. And so if you want to go home and sleep in your own bed, you have to be willing to sacrifice the fact that you should probably be home by like
midnight.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
And so and if you want to be later, just spend the night at your friend's house.
Well, and here's the other thing. Instead of curfew, I think about safety and location.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, it really relates to where you live. So we live in a rural area where there are no Ubers. And I am obsessive about the driving piece because I lost a family friend to a drinking and driving accident when I was in high school. Mm-hmm. And it was a really traumatic experience. And so I placed more emphasis on being safe and on not driving than I do on the curfew and the drinking or whatever else the kids may be doing itself. I want them to be safe. And so that's why I say midnight. Either you're going somewhere and you have to come home by midnight, and that means you're not drinking and you're not smoking, you're not doing all this shit because you're coming home and I'm going to be there, or you're going to stay overnight. And the same is true with our house. Nobody leaves our house. If you're coming to our house, I'm not policing everybody because all these kids sneak shit. But I get the keys and you're spending the night. Yeah. Otherwise, you're not coming. Or your parents are picking you up. Mm-hmm. And they respect it.
They do. You have to enforce that, though, as a parent. Like,
yep. How do you get your son or daughter to listen to this? Like, if you're the parent and you've heard this.
Trap them in the car. Like, you're like going somewhere, be like, turn this on. Like, let's listen to this. But you could also, I mean, they might not really care that somebody close to their age is listening to it. But actually, two things. Two things. Three things. Okay. So trap them in the car, because that's always a great way to do it. Be like, give me your headphones. Like, just listen to this. Sometimes you got to force it. Two is maybe they don't want to listen to a full hour. So find a 10-minute segment that you really like and just be like, can you listen to this 10-minute segment with me? I think you'd take something out of it. Like, it relates to something that I think you might be going through. And then, what was the third one? 3, I don't know if this one's going to work, but just say that there's a kid who's close to their age talking in it and voicing his concerns and stuff.
Awesome. I love that. Another piece of great advice, Oak.
Thank you.
You're so wise. You must get it from your dad.
I think so.
I think so, too. Today, we are answering your questions, and I say we because I've invited our 18-year-old son, Oakley Robbins, onto the podcast because so many of the questions that I'm getting from listeners around the world are related to either the teens or young adults in your life.